Excuse me, can you please put on one of the fragrances, please? The car is starting to smell a little less new.
Sorry, sir. I can't do that. This car doesn't have that.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm tired of seeing all the peasants on the road. Can you close the sunshade? It's a little too bright back here.
I can close the sides, but not the back, because then I wouldn't be able to see where I'm going in the rearview mirror.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm thirsty. My heated coffee that's in the heated cup holders up there, I'll take that then, please.
Your coffee is lukewarm. Would you take that? This car also can't come with heated and cooled cup holders.
I should have got the X5 then. Well, then what can this car do?
Well, it's got a lot of lights around you. You got, big screens, and it's quite fast.
All right, I'll give it that. Yes, my friends, that's right. We're in the 2024 BMW 760i xDrive, and there's a lot to go over when it comes to this car. So while Victor drives us around, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the tech specs and features on this vehicle, because obviously it would be dangerous for him to be reading off a script. But this vehicle, as configured, $176,000 Canadian, or about $145,000 in the US. But don't sweat, my friends, you do get a 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 S68 engine producing 536 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. I'm sure, Victor, you can feel it as we drive around town here.
Yes, I can very much feel the V8, but where's my V12?
No, and we actually had thought to kind of film something about that, because the 760s used to always designate the V12s, and really the 750s did back when I had my E38. But yes, we're getting near V12 performance, I guess, with this. That's why they're badging it that way. But what's also interesting is this is not an M performance model. You'd have to go with a plug-in hybrid to get the true M760 Li experience, or with the i7 it's the M70. But yes, underneath the hood we have a 4.4-liter engine with a mild hybrid system. There is a boost button on the driver's steering wheel. It gives you that extra 12 horsepower. Hold it down for a couple seconds and it activates your boost for 10 seconds. And I don't know, let's find out. Ooh, that sounds good though, right?
Yeah, It's this muted, strong V8 sound that has a lot of, the cabin has a lot of sound insulation. So no road noise, but you can still hear a little bit of the V8, just the right amount.
Well, that's the thing. When this vehicle launched, obviously there was a lot of controversy, much like the E65 that was designated the Bengal butt. This is probably the next most controversial 7 Series to come out. The one thing that is unmistakable about it is that V8 growl. It does sound exactly like a BMW should. So there's points for that. And there's a lot going on with this car. I've come to really like this vehicle over the time that I've had it. So yeah, the exterior we'll talk about after, because we're doing things a little differently here. But there's so much going on the inside here. Even though we're not fully loaded, we are getting a plethora of features on this vehicle that really do make it feel like it's worth the price point. So for example, up front, Victor's got a 14.9-inch iDrive 8 screen. On the right side, it is curved, and then a 12.3-inch driver screen. We've seen this setup before. Something like the BMW i4 had a very similar setup. Looks nice. We have quad zone automatic climate control, 4-seat heat, ventilation, and massage with memory options on all 4 seats, which is awesome. And I think the really big feature, the thing that I would absolutely recommend optioning no matter what you do, is the Bowers & Wilkins Diamond surround sound system. It is a 36 speaker audio system, 1965 watts, and it has something that they call 4D audio. There are speakers inside the seats that will thump along with the music. It is like nothing else that I have experienced. Absolutely worth it. You got to get it. No matter what you do, if you don't get the top end model of the 7 Series, if you go with anything else, you have to get that option. You will not regret it. But a couple other things that we've got, at least back here, I do have access to the panoramic sky lounge with the LED lighting that's built in. BMW says that they have changed the lighting parameters, make it a little bit more elegant. I do like it. Then I've got 5.5-inch displays in the door cards here to be able to access things like the sun blinds, my seat controls, music, and even the modes. Because BMW is doing things a little differently here. It's no longer just a drive mode, it's sort of like a mood. So when you get in the car, you can decide what kind of mood you're feeling in, and that will dictate how the car operates. But all that can be controlled back here. Excellent seat comfort, pillows in the headrests. I mean, the back seats here are fantastic. And this is the first generation BMW 7 Series that is only offered as a long wheelbase. They never did that before. You could always have the option between a short and a long. This generation, long only.
So up front, we've got plenty of space as well. I'm having my massaging seats turned on, and I'm having a very relaxing drive. BMW says that even though this is the 7 Series, it caters towards, the back seat, this is still a driver's car. This has rear wheel steer. It makes the car feels extremely nimble for its size, and the power that goes with it.
Yeah.
It really makes the car feels much smaller and much more dynamic in terms of the handling. It's got a very advanced set of air suspensions that balances out the road, and you get barely any body roll when you're taking turns. I'm actually having quite a lot of fun driving this car. I would expect this to be a highway killer.
Oh yeah.
It also does turns very well.
Yeah, I mean, in town it's been just absolutely lovely to drive. And when we were on our drive home with it, I was taking advantage of the BMW assisted driving setup. So it is, I think it's a level 2 autonomous here. It's a level 3 if you're in some places in Europe. But you can take your hands off the wheel. It will do lane changes for you if you signal them. And it worked. It didn't have any issues with it. So we've tested it before. It's not the first time we've done it, but I think BMW has tweaked it for this generation of 7 Series at least. So it is a nice feature to have, especially if you're, if you really are on long trips and things like that, you just want to let the car take care of you. It absolutely can.
Now, in addition to that, up front we've got the big screens Niall has mentioned, and at first it's a little bit overwhelming. It's a steep learning curve for sure, but it has a lot of information.
Yeah, and that was my big issue when I got into the car originally. Like, I felt overwhelmed, and I haven't felt that before when it comes to a vehicle. So it took me several days really to get comfortable with everything, because there's almost no buttons. You've got physically almost no buttons, but the few that you have are really just the essentials. Everything else is in the screen.
Yeah, but I am surrounded by crystals. I have crystal knobs, crystal seat adjustment buttons, and crystal everywhere. I feel very pristine. I feel very luxurious in here in the driving seat, especially.
Well, talk about the speaker grills, for example. Jen's been complaining that they feel like cheese graters. They are kind of sharp. I wouldn't rub your fingers up it too much, but I think it's just a beautiful design touch when you go with the Bowers & Wilkins Diamond surround system. It just adds an extra level of luxury to this vehicle. There's a lot of materials in here. We do have leathers. We have the carbon fiber trim on here. Then there are some piano black plastics, but for the most part, everything is soft touch in this vehicle.
Yeah, so even though this car is not a fully loaded version of the 760 xDrive, you could have, there is a couple more very major features that you could option this car with. First of them would be the big cinematic screen that you could have for your backseat passengers, and the second of it is the automatic motorized door opening and closing.
Yeah, that I tested out this week. We were at a local BMW dealership here. They had an i7 with that feature. I think it's a little gimmicky, but if you are somebody with maybe mobility issues, especially the driver, if you find it a little tough to get into the vehicle and then have to stretch to pull the door closed, you just put your foot on the brake, the door will close, push the button, door opens for you. So I can see it being a very useful feature for some people. Somebody like ourselves, we're young, we really don't need it. I think it's more gimmicky. And then, yeah, the rear executive package on this with the 32-inch widescreen Amazon Fire TV setup is really killer. It would have been nice to try it out with this, but I mean, even without it, I am super comfortable back here with the massage going on. I mean, there's not much more you could ask for.
Yeah, so the executive package gets you thick carpets as well, so makes it feel a little bit more like a Rolls Royce.
And that's kind of the look of it. We'll talk about it when we go outside, but BMW's obviously dipping in a little bit into their Rolls Royce catalog to make this feel a little bit more prestige than the 7 Series have of the past. But yeah, I mean, you're getting a lot, and that's like a $7,000 or $8,000 option here in Canada, so we're already at a pretty high price point. We're already topping out the M760Li we drove back in 2018. So it's going to add up, but you definitely do get what you're paying for. I do find that they have gone above and beyond. Obviously, we joked about some of the features that are missing, or some of the features that maybe could be tweaked a little bit here, but for the most part, it's an excellent execution of a 7 Series BMW.
So we've gone over a little bit about the interior and how comfortable it is. Why don't we talk a little bit about how quickly this can get to 60 kilometers an hour?
I think so. We need to try that out. Our viewers want to know.
So
I think we're in a pretty good spot here.
Let's put the car into sport mode and then come to a stop and give it the beans.
Oh my God. That's like electric vehicle torque right there. Oh,
this
buddy.
is very, very instant. I'm very impressed with the mild hybrid system, with the 4.4 liter twin turbo. This is very instant power. I definitely did not notice any turbo lag in that launch. And as you can see, my head was pressed against the headrest. It is very fun.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong, especially in sport mode. There is launch control. You have to activate, really the best way to do it, you put the vehicle into sport mode, turn off traction and stability, and then you can use the boost mode as well to give the absolute maximum performance. We're on winter tires right now, and it is wet outside, so we're not going to be doing anything overly crazy with it, but it is really quick. And it's also efficient, because we did our test loop in this vehicle in a staggering 9.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Considering that this thing weighs like 6 tons, it's pretty impressive that we got that number on our test loop. So premium fuel, you're going to need to use it, but so far it's been pretty efficient considering it's in sport mode all the time. And even our test loop, I as much as I wanted to be able to do a proper test in eco mode, honestly I couldn't do it. It was sport mode the whole way, but still impressive numbers.
Yeah, and this car just feels so effortless all the time. You know, you want power, you have power. You want to overtake other people on the road, you could. And the presence, I mean, the presence is just phenomenal in this vehicle. The looks are a little bit controversial, which we'll get to in a bit, but you can't deny that this has a really strong presence on the road. You could option the light up kidney grills in the front, and
yes.
I've seen one at night, and it's just, you instantly recognize that it is a big BMW.
Yeah, I think we had that on one of the previous vehicles as well. It's not on this one, but yeah, for the most part, you can, if you need to show off even more than you already are. But I think one of the things that I've noticed is because this is the only one I've ever seen, there's none of them on the road. So when you notice one, it's like an event because nobody's bought them yet. But I think we'll switch positions a little bit because I have been enjoying the back seats here, but I think Victor needs a chance to try out our near executive rear seating space here, and I'll take it for a drive.
Sounds good.
All right, we've switched around. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Again, with iDrive, it is what it is. I always thought that iDrive was pretty much the best infotainment system on the market. It still is, but we have had some small hiccups with it. For example, my phone, if I'm not connected on Apple CarPlay and trying to stream music, it's problematic. And we've had that with many BMWs before. I don't know why they can't get that working properly. I've also had some issues with the actual screen. Just decides, I'm not going to do anything anymore. So a couple small issues there. And then also, I had this weird bug again with the phone where it was playing XM radio and my phone was going through, but it was like a phone call. So I was listening to my music as a phone call, couldn't get it to stop. I had to literally shut the car off, get it reset. But aside from that, like it is what it is. More buttons, we need more buttons. But yeah, now it's always a good day to be in the driver's seat of a 7 Series. I never said no to driving one. So what we're gonna do, we're in not only sport mode, but we're also in sport. I want to see here because we have to do this for science. We'll pull over just to let other traffic go. That's one thing I do like. It's my red alert mode here. The cars I always wanted to have like Star Trek, and that's what this car has. It's like a Star Trek mode. You're in red alert. We're pulled over to the side. So
the light bar is very cool. I just wish they had more in the back.
I wish, yeah, that's the thing. Like there's like the back seats are meant to be the place for you to be. Like you're buying a 7 Series because you got the money, you want to be driven around, and the back seats don't have as much going for them. So kind of a miss there. That could have extended, and I think it would have looked fantastic if the rear seats had a little bit of extra oomph to the screen there. The BMW light bar, the interaction bar, as they call it. But it is nice. The downside is can't change much on it. We're in sport mode. We do have the BMW M colors there, which is cool, but you can't have your own color. You have to go into my mode, which means you're not in sport mode anymore. So a couple weird decisions with that. But like I said, we're in full sport mode. DSC off. I like to live a little dangerously. And then we'll just find a little area here in Mexico, which is where we're filming today. That's why it's all foggy. We're in the heartland of Mexico, where it's legal to do all of this stuff. And we'll see what this BMW has to offer, because I want to try launch control. It does seem to need all the features turned off in order for it to work. So let's see. Bring it right down to a stop. Do boost mode.
I'm bracing myself.
Oh my God. It still didn't activate launch control, but that's fine. We didn't really need it for that one, did we?
No, we didn't. I was in the trunk.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my God. So let's see. I'm going to turn the DSC and everything back just onto sport mode, just so that we're not going to fly off the road. Like I said, it's a little wet here today. But Victor, now it's your experience in the backseat there. What are you finding about the backseat space in the 7?
I'm just having a very relaxing time back here with my massaging seats and the pillows.
Yeah, those pillows are like to die for. They are.
Yeah,
good.
even though we did a launch just now, I was almost asleep.
That's how you get woken up, right? You get to the airport, and
yes.
Instead of telling your passenger at the back, you just do a quick launch just to wake them up.
That's right. Over here, we have plenty of space, as mentioned. I am enjoying my massaging seats, and we get some screens on the door handles. I actually think that this is really the place that makes sense to have screens, have touch screens, is for the passengers. You know, the passengers are not focused on the road. You don't have to be aware of the road and concentrate on driving. You can take your sweet time adjusting all these things in the back. You know, I'm using these screens here. It's 5.5 inches. It's basically like a smartphone. You get to change all of your climate controls and even some of the modes up front. You can close all the blinds if you like, the sunshades, everything like that. And if you have the screened option, the cinematic screen down here, you can of course enjoy some movies and enjoy some news, if you would, conference calls.
Yeah.
Up on the screen.
Well, and what's good too, like what I like about those, I was like really not sold on it when they first launched it, but the previous generation used like an Android tablet, and I felt it never really worked properly. So having it just built into the door, I think just makes it a little bit less cumbersome. It just works, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I've also got a wireless charger here, so if you want to charge your phone on the way, it's no problem. The pillows are so comfortable.
Yeah.
I do wish that I have some thick carpets, even though this is just as comfortable, but there's just something about the thick carpets that says something when you step into the vehicle.
Oh yeah, they are pretty plush on the executive package. But like I said, maybe BMW will offer that to the press fleet with the i7, because we would like to try out the all electric. But you definitely can make things a little bit more luxurious here if you really needed it to. But at least for the driver's perspective, like this is pretty much the peak for this car. Now, we've done everything kind of backwards today. We did our driving segment. Let's now go and take a look at this vehicle and figure out if the old adage of doesn't matter how ugly it looks when you're driving it because you don't see it still applies here, or can we justify the design of the G70 BMW 7 Series?
Let's do it.
All right, so that was fun. We wasted quite a bit of gas, but it was for a good cause. So let's talk a little bit about the design on this, because obviously it's been pretty controversial.
Yeah.
I like it. I really do. It's just like with the Genesis G90. I said that it wasn't good on paper, but when you actually see it, you can start to appreciate it. I feel it's the same way with this. Now that I've actually seen it, I like it quite a lot.
For me, Not so much in the front. I still think the dimensions and the aspect ratios of the front is a little bit too progressive for me.
Yep.
It's a little bit too futuristic. I think the hood is too. It comes in a bit too strong, the front end. But I think it is definitely a huge presence on the road. I mean, just the front end, you see something coming up in your rear mirrors. I get to the side, you know, I let this car pass. Come on.
Well, so we've got the frozen pure gray metallic paint, and then the signature on this vehicle, the thing that really stands out, is supposed to be these Swarovski crystals for the daytime running lights. They're hard to see though because they're full of condensation, both sides. Like, it's pretty bad actually.
Yeah, if there wasn't any condensation, it would look very blingy and very shiny, and I would enjoy it quite a lot. It's similar approach to when they had the Mercedes S-Class Coupe that had Swarovski headlights as well. Very nice, but the condensation takes away from it. It just makes it feel way less premium. I mean, it's a brand new car. Come on.
And this is not the only one that's had those problems. Some owners online have been complaining about the same thing, so I'm just not sure what's going on there. Typically, like when older vehicles were built and there was condensation, it was almost like designed that way because the heat of the incandescent bulbs would dry it out, but these are LEDs, so they're never going to dry out. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to throw these headlights in a box of rice and let them dry out properly. But yeah, I mean, I like the front end of it. BMW says this is a monolithic surface, whatever the hell that means. But, you know, the center where the BMW roundel is sort of carved into the hood line, goes up. They say they've got a very aggressive side profile too. The headlights line up with this side shoulder that goes all the way to the taillights, which, you know, at least is a uniform design language. And like I said too, the front end, you've got the LED lights below. BMW says they're hidden essentially when you're looking at it. It's only when the lights come on that you do notice the headlights there. So definitely a different look. But like I said, and I mean, I've owned a 7 Series before. I've driven a couple of these. I like it. I'm probably one of the few people, but I do like it. It's grown on me quite a bit. But we'll talk about the rear in a second. I just want to talk about the side because there are some interesting things about the design on the side of this vehicle. If you haven't seen it, BMW has gone with what they call flush fitted side windows. They are invisible seals. Essentially the windows and the sides, you know, basically your B pillar, C pillar, all that flush along the side there. Most likely for drag coefficiency, but I think it looks good. Like, it's again another level of luxury that you're not necessarily getting on another vehicle that just elevates the 7 Series up into really the $175,000 price point.
Yeah, BMW for this generation of 7 Series has taken a sort of a more flat design language. We've got one very strong line here, design line across the side, but that's pretty much it. We don't have, you know, quite as many curves and stuff like that.
Yep.
And the windows definitely looks great. I like their approach with the door handles as well. It's not one of those that's completely flat, that's when there's ice, you can't get into the car. Instead, it's a little latch inside. So it keeps the overall profile very flat. I like it. The side.
Because Jaguar Land Rover, they've been trying to do that, and theirs are motorized. They'll pop open, and again, in the winter, you're right, they'll freeze up, they won't work. So this, you know, it's simple, and yeah, it takes some getting used to. What's silly, too, is I think each door has an emergency release on the outside, because there's a cap there that will pop off, and then same inside, there's a button to open the doors, and they all have an emergency release latch as well. So, you know, is the button really the luxury feature? I don't know. I mean, I could go with a normal door handle, but
I think the button there is for when you option the vehicle with the motorized doors.
That's true.
But it feels good.
Yep.
The motorized latch feels great to touch, and it gives you a lot of feedback in terms of sound, and it gets the door pops open slightly, so the overall experience in terms of the driver, the passenger, you know, getting in and out of the car is great.
Plus soft closed doors as well. It's something that you would expect to have at this price point. Let's go around back. A couple things we want to talk about there. Lighting is always important when it comes to a 7 Series. You want to make a presence. When you come up to the vehicle, there's obviously the light show that comes on, all the headlights and everything turn on. You also have BMW's dynamic light carpet. So projectors from the mirrors will display not only the illumination on the ground, but they sparkle. There's like a twilight sort of look to it. Really cool. Another level of luxury there. Rear end taillights, I like it. Quite nice overall. They wrap up into the sides here. They've got the BMW logo with these triangles. It's a pretty sharp looking back end, even though Some of the complaints are kind of looks like a Honda Accord.
Well, the rear 3/4 of the vehicle is my favorite design looking part of this vehicle. I really like the tail lights. You can see where I'm going with this. It's a little bit more conservative in terms of design, so that's why I like it. I like the tailpipes. You know, those are quad exhaust tailpipes, you know, signifying, you know, we have a strong V8 under the hood.
They're semi-fake though, because even though there was only 2 exhaust pipes, then they've kind of made it look like there's 4.
Yes, that's right. But in today's standard, you know, we've got some that are really fake.
Oh,
and,
I know.
And
So
I'm
they are
happy
real.
with this.
Yep.
You know, it sounds good and everything. We've got quite a lot of trunk space, right?
Yeah, trunk space is pretty good overall. We pop it open. You would expect that on a full-size luxury sedan. And it's power operated and all that. So good stuff there. The BMW roundel on the back, it actually pops down. It pops out to spray the rear camera to clean it off when you're, you know, parking, things like that. There's also a front camera washer as well. And then the one thing that we really touched about at the beginning of the video was the rear sunshade. This is the first time we've driven a vehicle with a rear sunshade that is too thick. Now I know that there are some luxury vehicles out there that are more like curtains, so you really can't see out of the back, but it is way too thick to be able to see out of it. It is dangerous. And the simple solution, a camera. BMW does not have a rear video camera for the mirror system at $175,000. I mean, there's cars that cost a tenth of that almost that have that.
Yeah, I think this is a big miss on BMW's behalf. You know, with a digital rear mirror, it solves a lot of problem, especially when you can option the vehicle with that big screen in the middle and this really thick sunshade at the back. It just really would make a whole lot of sense. It makes the whole package very cohesive when you do have the option to flip it and change it into a digital mirror.
And that's a great point. If you do have the rear entertainment package there, that would more or less cover the entire rear view of the driver. So not sure why BMW hasn't come out with it. A couple luxury brands like Cadillac do have rear view mirrors. They've had them for a while, or rear view camera mirrors. A lot of consumer brands now are starting to come out with that. So you'd kind of expect, you know, why not have that as a feature here? They could stick it up here at the top if they really need to. A lot of brands are doing that in the shark fin, or again, they could have it at the back. Just 2 cameras, one for the rear view and one for the camera, or the rear mirror camera. Would again solve the problem, especially with the rear nozzle to be able to wash it off. It's just like a Cadillac. So that's the big disappointment here at the back, I'd say, for me.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
But that's about it for this video. I mean, again, this is the 7 Series for me. I don't have the $4,000 a month to lease it, but I do think that this is a strong vehicle. It's not the perfect vehicle. I would say that the 2020 that we drove was sort of peak BMW 7 Series in terms of the modern era for me, but I like it quite a bit. It's certainly up there in terms of what you get for the price point. Mercedes S-Class, they've got quite a bit going for it as well, but overall, very strong option. And I like it. You tell me in the comments below. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of people like, I hate it, you're an idiot, but I don't know, you gotta drive it, you know. And that's the thing. I got a lot of people that complain about this. They can't buy one of these. I can't buy one of them either, so don't get me wrong. But
that's right. Speaking of driving it, I think this is one of the biggest selling points of the 7 Series.
Oh, yeah.
It's the more driver-focused car. It's definitely, we've tried it, we've driven it a while, and this is definitely the more driver-focused. It handles well. It keeps the driver also engaged along with the passengers in the side and in the back. So if you're considering between an S-Class and a BMW 7 Series, if you like the driving more, maybe pick this one.
Absolutely.
But if you like a more elegant look, I would say a more traditional looking vehicle, then maybe an S-Class.
And that's what's great. I mean, this doesn't need to be the vehicle for everybody. If you're a long-term BMW 7 Series owner, maybe you're going to be put off by it, but maybe not. But you've got great choice in the segment. So no matter what you go with, I think you're going to be happy. But I have enjoyed my time with this. I'm glad we've gotten it. And now the next one, really to get an i7, I want to see how the electric version drives.
Yeah, that's right. I'm excited to try that too.
There you go. Now we have launched a brand new website. We're going back to actually the old design. If you've been a long-term viewer here, you'll notice that the website kind of looks like how it did before. We're bringing that back. So we're changing things up a little bit here. You can go to prntestdrive.com to visit that. We're going to be doing some more stuff on there. As always, we encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this video, as we're going to be doing everything still on YouTube. But we're expanding our services here on Test Drive, and we hope to have you on board for that. But from all of us here, until next time, thanks for watching. Take care.